So from a perspective, and I give this note now for instructors as they see that, it's still going through a threat turn.
Right.
Well, that's because you don't know if there is only one threat or multiple threats. So we don't want people to automatically assume because it skips the threat's turn and goes directly to the innocent turn that there might not be more threats. So it's still in there in case you were to encounter more than one threat. So we'll go ahead and review that asset approval request. We're going to go ahead and approve it. And we see that we've got a total number of 23 and 9 showing up, and it's still going to be 16 turns before the very first things arrive.
Right.
So it's going to show you what's arriving first. Even though we've put in a second request, it's going to take longer for them to come. So now we're at the dilemma. Are there anything else that we would change in this setup until additional forces arrive?
I think that we have one victim right in the area. I think I would go check to start the prioritization of victim needs. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty good.
So my question would be do we violate our first priority, which is security, by moving anybody away from where they don't have mutual support from each other, or to gain access for the initial entry when they come in? Would I, as this individual officer, move them over to this victim to do an initial check of him to see if there's something I can do for him? I could, right? But I think, and then maybe it's a bad judgment call, it's one of those hard calls, I would probably move this guy to the central post so that he can look out.
Understood.
And guide in additional forces that they come in. And what I now know based on intelligence, if I go into my exterior view from memory or looking at it from outside, I'm right here, right where I've got the center of the screen.
We're at the front office.
I'm at the front office, which bent to the right, and then back to the left. The library is right here, right in here, in fact, where this, let's put a center. So the library was right in here. Okay, that's where the majority of my injured are at, all but 2 of them. So I could use this for staging of everything that come in. I could use this, which looks like it goes down that central hallway. I could use this, which, oh, by the way, is by an auditorium. Or it might even look at short line distance, this is the best way to go in. I'll caveat that from experience. What does this area look like?
Utility, back cafeteria area,
Yeah.
loading.
So it could be a maze. Yeah. I might not have direct access in through here with gurneys and everything else I need, even though it looks like it's ample room and it could be secured. This might not be appropriate because I might have to angle through a lot of different doors in order to get to them.
Yeah.
From my perspective so far, the best staging point for my rescue task force and EMS is probably going to be here, because I can come in through here and go to the left to the 2 wounded, or I can continue down the hallway and go into the mirror.
Right.
So this has got to be the priority area that I'm establishing. I need to get my tactical commander and a couple other guys on the ground. So I'm keeping eyes from that guy on the inside. I'm keeping eyes on the window to see when the tactical commander comes into view. Once he gets into view, I now know that things are all right. So I think that from here, maybe even there. All right, that gives me a little bit better. I can see out to the street now. I think this is as much as I can do until they arrive.
Sure.
Now, I can go through every single turn if I want, but there's no need if no situation's going to change and I have no decisions to make. What we have as a feature is to look at the total number of turns still available and skip to that amount of turns, which I believe was 16. I'm going to punch in 15 to say skip ahead. It will still track all of the wounds and time to expiration from the wounds and the innocents running away. All that's still going to occur, but I can't impact any of it, and I don't need to slow down my training based on that.
Right.
So I'm just going to go ahead and skip it. And when we come back, we'll be ready to stage the tactical commander and talk about tactical command in relationship to staging of assets, in relationship to getting that incident commander on the ground.
Perfect.
Sound good? All right. And as a reminder, when we left, we had just requested additional assets, and we were waiting for our first line supervisor to arrive on the scene. We have no other backup that has arrived at the scene either. So it seemed like it was a good place to take a break and wait for the additional resources to come in. And we used the skip feature to move forward in that dead space in order to get the additional assets on the ground. So nothing's really changed. I stopped at 1 turn ahead of time just to be able to do that reintroduction. And you'll see that we still have the officer looking down the hallway with the threat in the middle and 1 victim in the hallway there. And then we've got our other officer awaiting for the arrival of additional assets. And we would go ahead and end this turn. All right. We now have identification through the exclamation point that's in the upper right-hand corner that additional assets have arrived. So it says units have arrived. So when we stage these, we have to figure out what is it we want to accomplish first. At this point, we are barely holding down what we have in the lobby area. We need additional immediate backup to expand that and secure it a little bit better. I would not say we need just somebody outside as tactical command just yet. We need additional officers. So let's get outside and take a look at that and what it means to what do we have that arrived. I go to level of command 3. I look at the asset approval window, which now shows that we have arrived assets down here in the bottom right, 10 police officers, 2 fire trucks, and 3 ambulances. And I've got an additional 10, 1, and 6 that are going to arrive in another 9 turns. Right. So I definitely now have a lot that's going to be coming within the next 2 minutes of time. Yeah. But I've got to take care of priorities first, right? And we said that it's got to be additional backup in the scene. So what I can do is I left click and hold over the badge number to indicate what I want. I need police backup, right? And I can rotate that, and then when it's green, if it's red, I can't drop it there, right? Right. So I can bring it right in here, and I want a back clearance team to allow me to push my security perimeter a little bit better in that location. That took my officer's capability to drop those in placement there. My other officer can radio for additional support. And let's say that he also knows that we are more than likely, we need to establish a tactical command location to secure this hallway right here. Right. So that is where we want to start staging our future operational capabilities. Right there. Mm-hmm. And that is as much as I can do. What you'll see is that we'll still go through the threat and then the innocent turns. When it comes back, after I've dropped any asset into the scene, the next turn, they then become available as characters that I can control. Right. So whereas where I started in the simulation with only 2, I'm now controlling 4. Mm-hmm. And then 6, 9, 10, 50. Sure. Right, which is a lot. It is. There's no doubt about it. But what I think you'll very quickly see is that the scope of our decision-making is now going to change. We're still going to be somewhat tactically oriented in our decision making, but we're also going to have consequences of actions that take much longer to develop. Mm-hmm. And you're going to start seeing that essentially what I'm getting out of this is that you're going to need delegation of authority. If only one person's doing all these decisions and coordinating everything, you could have seen just there alone, it would have taken me 2 turns instead of 1. Mm-hmm. If I've got, it would compound the issue. So really in scope and scale of decision making, it usually means that only one person can control about another 6 to maybe 7. So you have to establish leadership in a structure as you get beyond the tactical level of considerations, or one person trying to do it all isn't going to be able to do it.
Right, I mean, never. Right. Never works out.
And I think the first thing I've heard, and not necessarily pushback, but I get a lot of trainees that will tell me, well, I'm just a responder. I'm not a shift sergeant, or I'm not the shift lieutenant, and I'm not the division commander. I'm here to tell you, in my experiences in any type of gunfight I've been in, or any type of crisis that I've been in, everybody's a leader at some point in time, and everybody has to be able to make those decisions for themselves until properly relieved. So now let's go back into where we are with our characters and see what they have available for them in terms of action units and time. This guy has not had much to do. He has overall situational awareness. He can provide additional intel and guidance and help stage assets and tactical commanders on the ground. This is our back clearance team that arrived. We can get him kitted up and get him starting to move toward the guy that's going to receive him. If you remember, we placed him right inside the doorway. Mm-hmm.
Understood.
Here's my other officer. And he is probably, so this would be 1, 2, 3. The other guy's stage is 4. This is technically the 5th person available. This is probably the appropriate person to start establishing a tactical command post. Okay. So I'm going to still, because there's a potential of a threat, I am still going to give him the appropriate amount of protective gear. But this person is more than likely the one that I would be coordinating between what's going on inside the perimeter or the structure compared to what's going on the outside. All right, and he is still not going to move because he's not been relieved, and he could still radio in for additional support to get those people dropped in that we need. And now you can see again at the unicycler in the bottom, everybody's action units are done because nobody's green anymore. And now we can go ahead and end our turn. Okay, so I am going to drop one more person in here. I thought I did it, maybe I didn't do it correctly. I'm going to drag in another officer to be a part of my initial back clearance team. And I'm intentionally putting them next to each other. So the officer inside is coordinated to drop that person in.
Understood.
Now I can go back into my officers. This guy is not doing anything.
Copy.
This is my initial team. He's going to wait for his buddy to get his equipment donned in the next turn.
Understood.
This is the guy that we said we were going to put as our tactical commander. And this is the next arriving officer, which we don't have an assignment for yet. This really would be up to the tactical commander to make a decision on. And I probably want to do an assessment this time and start figuring out what am I really doing with my folks here.
Right.
Copy.
So already it's getting crowded out.
It's starting to get crowded, but we can actually start looking at, what are we doing with available people to coordinate things based on assets that are currently here. So I've got 2 officers by the lobby area that can be back clearance that will help me to extend the ability to get back to my main hallway. And then they can start pushing from there, probably north. But I've also got this hallway leading over to the auditorium, which is going to be another problem, which means I probably need another 2 people. And I've only got the tactical commander and 1 other. So I need at least 1 more to push from what we're going to stage in our entry point for a casualty evacuation. I need 1 more officer in this area. Hit. That was my mouse hitting the edge of the monitor. All right. Now that looks much better to me.
Understood.
He's not got enough timer assets left, and he doesn't have, who's this? Yep, that's our tactical commander, so he's not going to do much either right now at this point. All right, so now we can go ahead and end the turn. All right, now it starts getting a little crazy. So we're going to go a little bit faster trying to keep up with this. This guy is going to be the transition and pass information.
Copy.
This guy is holding what he's got until he's relieved or they extend past him.
Copy.
This is the buddy, which was this guy.
Understood.
Needs to don his equipment to support him.
Copy.
Waiting on his buddy.
Understood.
That's the tactical commander.
Copy.
And this is the guy that's going to be the other part of the back clearance team. So I'm going to hold him up at the tactical commander's location until his buddy is also prepared. All right, so I've given them enough guidance. Now I need to really go back and look at this tactical commander that's right here. What is he going to continue to do now that it looks like, from the vantage point of initial task organization, what should he legitimately be doing next? And I would probably start looking at that checklist again to say, what am I forgetting to do? So that should help prompt me in what needs to be done next. Did I establish the tactical command post? Yes, I did. Have we secured the area? Not really. That's what my back clearance is going to do. And I've made a decision. I'm splitting out my forces. 2 are going in from where the scene ended at, and they're going to move in order to push from that lobby area back towards the original point of injury. But I've got stuff to my right-hand side I'm still concerned about. Nobody's even been down that way. So I'm going to put another 2 people to start pushing to the right, or which I'm going to call it east. I'm going to push them east in order to lock that area down also. That at least gives me a secured perimeter so I can redefine what's called the hot zone to the warm zone. That difference of a hot and warm is, hot is where the threat is likely to occur. Warm is where something has been cleared, but there's still a potential for a threat to come in and out of that area. And cold is where it's been swept and there is low likelihood of a threat coming in. So at this point, I would say that anything in the exterior is cold. Anything right inside the hallways would be warm. And anything north of where I have officer present at this point would be hot.
Right.
I need to reduce that hot to the point that I can at least get to where all my casualties are at. And that's what I've got to focus to do on. If I did it consolidated with all of my members together as a back clearance team in one location, it would take twice as long to get that route secured. I'm at least focusing to get a route secured rather than thinking about concentric circles of hot, warm, cold. What I am doing is securing a route direct to where most of my injured are at,
Right.
so I can get a casualty collection point established as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that is where I'm at right now. So after that, what I'm going to need is, if I've got 2 back clearance teams, I need additional police officers still on scene that would allow me to do a rescue task force, which is the armed security to my rescue, fire and rescue as they come on the scene.
Understood.
And any available people to help me coordinate that until we get the number we need. Look like that, right? Bumper to bumper. You can start seeing, what is this starting to look like, right? I'm going to start having some flow considerations if I don't start staging elsewhere. So now I need to start thinking about, in terms of what assets they have and what they need, do I need fire trucks right up front?
I don't think so.
If I put fire trucks right here, even though they're next to arrival on the scene that I would place because I got to use them, I'm not going to use ambulances until I'm ready for patient transfer. I need fire trucks.
Okay.
If I put the fire trucks here, I'm going to have to restage the fire trucks again later in order to get the ambulances through so that I can have a route in,
Right.
transfer point, and route back out, right? So I've got to start keeping that area open. And that is one of my primary considerations. Now that I've established tactical command, I have to start thinking about what's called staging area. So we're going to go ahead and end the turn.